What up, family? This your man Jeff. Welcome back to my channel, Food Delivery Guru. All right, y'all. So being that I'm out here in El Paso, Texas, and I'm just gonna go say it, these drivers in El Paso, Texas are the worst. Okay, and if you guys have followed me on my channel, I drove all across the country in August, like 14 different states, visiting family, friends, etc. And by far, okay, including New York, California, El Paso, Texas drivers are the worst. So being that I drive my Chevy Bolt, which is the BOLT, the full electric 90% of the time now, I wanted to get another rear view mounted camera to protect me against all these bad drivers out here. Okay, now if you guys have followed my channel, I did another review on another rear view camera that I installed in my Chevy Volt, the VOLT, and that one still works great. Nothing's wrong with it. Everything is still working on it, okay? But I needed one for this car since this is the one that I am mainly driving. So I'm going to do a review on this new rear view cam. And I'm going to show you guys how easy it was for me to actually install, minus some of the features that the camera came with. All right, y'all. So the review of this camera, or the camera that I purchased from Amazon, is called the PORMIDO. It's the D50 model. And this one has 3 cameras within the system. Okay, it has a rear view camera, it has a front camera, and it also has an internal camera. Okay, so for those of you guys that do Uber and Lyft, that internal camera is very, very important, especially when capturing them crazy ass customers that y'all be dealing with. You know, they say the best thing in court is video. Well, these 3 cameras can record simultaneously with no problem whatsoever. All right, y'all. So before I go ahead and turn on the camera in the car, just kind of wanted to go over a couple of things real quick and just give you guys a quick version of the install that I did with this car versus my Chevy Volt. Okay, so as you can see, I got all the wires which are connected to the top of the camera, and this little blinking thing would be the internal view of the camera. Okay, so as far as the internal view, the only disappointment that I have, and you know, this is my only disappointment, is that, you know, as a food delivery driver, I wish that wire to that camera would have been a little bit longer. Okay, I don't really need interior view because I don't do Uber and Lyft. Okay, so for those of you that do, that camera would be perfect, just, you know, where to mount it at right now. But if the wire was a little bit longer, me personally, I would have stuck that camera right there looking out that window, so that I could actually capture me dropping off packages and food, etc. Okay, so that would have been an awesome thing for me. Hint, hint. But otherwise, I did go ahead and mount it the way it was supposed to be mounted. And you're probably wondering, where are all the wires? Because there's no wires at all. So what I basically did is I put all the wires up here, in this trim up here, up the wires up here in the trim of this car, and then kind of ran it down. As you can see, I did ran some more wires there. There's a GPS for the camera as well, and that GPS is pretty nice. So the GPS, as you say, video in court, that GPS actually tracks your mileage. Okay, and there's a software that you can actually download that will show your mileage. Let's say you get pulled over by a, you know, one of these coppers, and they say you were doing a specific speed limit and you know you weren't. Well, you know what? That little GPS will actually record how fast you were going, etc. Okay, and it's pretty accurate because as I'm driving, I'm looking at my speed compared to that GPS, and it is right on point. So anyway, when you're looking in the manual tells you how to run the the wire towards the back of the car, which is the rear camera. Okay, so for me, the last time I installed the other camera in my Chevy Volt, I ended up, and I'm going to show you guys really quick, I ended up pulling up all these bottom panels and running the wire to the back camera through those bottom panels. And, you know, I wanted to find a better way to run the wire, and looking in the manual of this, it actually told me to run the wires to the top of the car. So, you know, literally I just pulled off this right here, which is the weather stripping, and literally ran the wires to the back of the car. Okay, so for me, I installed the back camera on the back window. Okay, now you want to ask me, why did I install it on the back window? Because I installed it on the inside back window because the way this car is situated, there really wasn't any good area for me to put my camera. Okay, now I did look up here and thought maybe installing it here, but then that would have taken me some work to do some drilling and all this other stuff, which I did not want to do. So I went on and mounted the camera there. Once I ran the wires and got the wires through there, I put a little hole, and then bam, camera's right there. Now, I will say this, I did not opt to install the backup portion of the camera and by adding the little red wire to the backup light. Now, I did do it on my Chevy Volt, but both of these cars have backup cameras. So this time I decided not to go ahead and try to install it. It is a little detailed because then you got to pull off lights and you got to do all this different stuff. And I just didn't want to, you know, obligate myself to that time to go ahead and try to do something like that. And when I was installing the other camera in my Chevy Volt, I had to break out the drill and drill a couple of holes, and that's not something I wanted to do this time. So I opted out on the backup light. But let me tell you, if my backup camera ever goes out and they tell me it's too expensive, oh, I will be hooking up that that red wire with no problem. One of the things that I did do, since the red wire is kind of a little bit exposed, I did make sure I put some electrical tape when I stuffed it up in there. So if you decide not to do that, that's one of the things that you might want to do. If your red wire is a little exposed, mine was just a little bit, but enough that I didn't want it touching anything and shorting anything out. So make sure you do use some electrical tape to cover up that red wire. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and turn on this car, and I'm gonna go over some real quick features of this PORMIDO D50. As you can see, it booted up, and as you can see, mine already starts off with the rear cam. Okay, so that's how mine is set up to come on automatically with the rear cam. As you can see, there's a miles per hour that I got set up for the GPS. It gives me the time, the date, and all that good stuff. Actually, oh yeah, my date's right. No, yeah, my date's right. Sorry, guys. But anyway, it automatically goes ahead and record. Okay, so there you have the rear view, and then I could go to the front view. And as you can see, there's the front view, and then boom, there is the interior view. And then the last one is all three views. Okay, now what's so cool is, one of the things about installing that rear camera, one of the problems that I thought I was going to have is, as I'm slamming my hatchback consistently and constantly, I kind of figured that the camera might move a little bit, okay? And, you know, it has, not to any inconvenience at all. But even when the camera has kind of moved slightly, if I slam my hatchback a little bit too hard, here's one of the great features that I love. Okay, so if I slam, let's say the camera moves maybe, you know, 1/4 of an inch, and I don't get this view, well, I can actually take my finger and I can actually move the camera up and fix it if the camera actually moves. Now, I've only had to fix the camera once, and I've probably been in my hatch probably about 40 or 50 times already doing deliveries. Okay, but that is a really, really cool feature. Okay, It does it for the front camera as well. I can move the front camera up as well, which is awesome. And I didn't show you where the front camera is, but the front camera is right there. So you can see how nice and neat I got the front camera positioned. And, you know, this whole install worked really, really well. Okay, so like I said, minus the stuff that I didn't want to install, this literally took me about an hour and 15 minutes total to do. Now, yes, I did have a little bit of experience from my other install, so that kind of made it go a little bit quicker. But ultimately, this was one of the most easiest installs that I've done. And as far as the camera, you know, being an HD type camera for all three, this does everything that I needed to do and more. So I'm actually happy that I purchased this camera. Like I said, I got this camera for $259 on Amazon, and you know, once I used all of my gift cards that I got from Product Tube and a bunch of other stuff, I ended up paying like 113 bucks out the door with tax for this. So this is an excellent buy. You don't even have to drive. I recommend that you just get something like this, period, to protect yourself. So even if you don't, you know, you're not a driver out there consistently and constantly, maybe you're going to drive across country and you know, or maybe you're going to go visit a lot of people or whatever the case is, or just for an everyday drive. This is awesome, okay, because it does everything that it needs to do. So I'm going to run through this real quick and show you the views again. So there's the internal view. That camera moves up and down as well. You know, you got all three views. Again, there's the rear view, front view, okay? So anyway, I give this camera 5 stars, especially for the install. It did come with its own SD card that you can put in it, so you don't even have to buy an SD card at all. I wish I would have did a portion of the video where I can show you all the different parts that came with it, but you know, oh well. It is what it is. All right, so I give this camera a 5 star. I did give it a 5 star on Amazon. Well, let's keep it moving, guys. Hope you enjoyed this review, and as I always say, y'all drive safe out there, make that money. Peace out.